The observation deck of station hummed with the low-frequency vibration that all deep space habitats carried, a reminder that only reinforced titanium and quantum shielding separated humanity from the infinite void. Daniel Chen adjusted his neural interface port, the small disk behind his right ear still tender from the morning's firmware update, and surveyed the crowded cantina. Every table was occupied. Engineers, miners, terraforming specialists, and security personnel filled the space with their conversations, their laughter, their very human presence. Every table except one. She sat alone in the corner, her form unmistakable even among the diverse human population. Melissa, if that was even her real name, though the universal translator had rendered her species designation as something approximating that sound, was a Vakari, the first of her kind to ever set foot on a human station. Her skin possessed an iridescent quality that shifted between deep violet and silver depending on the angle of light. Two pairs of eyes, arranged vertically on her elongated face, tracked the room with predatory precision. The upper pair glowed faintly amber, processing the visible spectrum, while the lower pair radiated a soft blue, perceiving wavelengths humans couldn't imagine. 6 fingers on each hand drummed a rhythmic pattern on the table, a Vakari stress response Daniel had read about in the xenobiology briefings. The other humans gave her a wide berth. 3 days ago, a Vakari warship had destroyed the mining colony on Titan's largest moon, killing 2,000 settlers. The Galactic Council had declared it a tragic misunderstanding, a navigation error, but grief didn't care about diplomatic explanations. Daniel picked up his tray, synthetic protein, recycled vegetables, and something the kitchen optimistically called coffee, and made his decision. His colleagues from the propulsion engineering department watched with expressions ranging from shock to disapproval as he crossed the cantina floor. "This seat taken?" Daniel asked, knowing his translator would convert the words into the subsonic frequencies Vakari used for communication. All 4 of Melissa's eyes fixed on him. The room's ambient noise dropped noticeably as conversations faltered. She remained motionless for 3 full seconds, an eternity in human social interaction, though Daniel had learned that Vakari processed social situations more deliberately. "You are either exceptionally brave or exceptionally foolish, human." Her voice emerged from the translator as a melodious contralto, though he could hear the underlying subsonic rumble. "Perhaps both." Daniel Chen, propulsion systems engineer. He sat down, placing his tray across from her, "and I prefer curious to either of those options." Her primary eyes narrowed, a gesture the xenobiology manual had identified as amusement rather than hostility. "Melissa K. Thera, xenobotanist. I am researching the viability of Earth-origin plant species in non-terrestrial atmospheres." She gestured toward her own meal, a gelatinous substance that pulsed with bioluminescence. "Though I confess your food holds no appeal for me." "The feeling's mutual," Daniel said, unable to suppress a smile. "Though I'm pretty sure most humans would say the same about our cafeteria food." The ice, microscopically thin as it was, began to crack. "You are not afraid of me," Melissa observed. "It wasn't a question." "Should I be?" 67% of humans I encounter on this station exhibit elevated cortisol levels in my presence. Increased heart rate, dilated pupils. Your species' fear response is remarkably transparent." Daniel took a sip of his coffee, grimacing at its bitterness. "I'm an engineer. I deal in systems, causes, and effects. You didn't destroy that colony. Some trigger-happy admiral with poor judgment did. Seems illogical to blame you for actions you didn't take." "Logic," Melissa's lower eyes pulsed brighter, "a refreshing quality, rare in any species I have found." They ate in silence for a moment. Daniel noticed the room slowly returning to its normal volume, though surreptitious glances continued to drift their way. "Why xenobotany?" he asked. Seems like an unusual field for someone from a species known primarily for military advancement. The same reason you became an engineer, I suspect, because the universe is vast and complex, and understanding even a fraction of it brings meaning. She paused, one hand tracing patterns in the condensation on her drink container. Also, I find your earth plants remarkable. They wage chemical warfare against competitors, communicate through underground fungal networks, and some even count. Aggressive, intelligent, beautiful, not unlike humanity itself. Daniel laughed. I've never heard us compared to plants before. You spread across hostile environments, adapt rapidly, and compete ferociously for resources. The comparison is apt. Her tone shifted, becoming somber. You also suffer when your settlements are destroyed. The colony on Titan's moon, I read the casualty reports. 317 children among the dead. The weight of those words settled between them. Daniel set down his fork. You weren't responsible, he said quietly. No, but I carry the guilt of my species nonetheless, just as you carry the grief of yours, whether you acknowledge it or not. They sat in shared silence, two beings from worlds separated by light years, connected by the simple recognition of mutual pain. My shift starts in 20 minutes, Daniel finally said. Reactor coupling maintenance, exciting stuff, but tomorrow same time. All four of Melissa's eyes brightened simultaneously, surprise, pleasure, perhaps hope. I would find that acceptable. Daniel stood, picking up his tray. Oh, and Melissa, for what it's worth, I think your research sounds fascinating. I'd like to hear more about these aggressive plant networks. As he walked away, he felt the weight of every human gaze in the cantina. Let them stare. The universe was too vast, too complex, too magnificent to be navigated through fear and isolation. Behind him, Melissa sat a little straighter, her 6 fingers no longer drumming that anxious rhythm. For the first time since boarding station Kepler 442, she didn't sit alone, not truly. In the cold mathematics of space, courage wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was simply the act of taking a seat, of choosing connection over comfortable distance, of seeing a person rather than an enemy. And sometimes that was enough to change everything.